All the NFL head coaching hires are done, as Dan Quinn is the last to be hired. There was a report yesterday by Diana Rossini that the Commanders, before they pulled the trigger on Dan Quinn, maybe back-channeled to gauge Bill Belichick's interest, that there was interest in the front office. But this is a team that has a front office that's already full. And then you have Belichick, who reportedly said to the Falcons he wanted to have total control, and then they backed away. Bill Belichick going to the Commanders, where he's not going to have full control, and you already have like 3 or 4 front office people already hired. That was not going to work well. Dan Quinn is an uninspiring hire here. And you hire somebody because you want that coach to be your forever coach. This kind of feels like you're on your third marriage and you go, I'm going to make this one work here. Now, you got new ownership there with Washington, but Dan Quinn was in Atlanta, where he did go to a Super Bowl, and he was defensive coordinator with the Cowboys, spent time in Seattle. All right, so he's got a nice resume, but if you said I can have Dan Quinn or Mike Vrabel, I'm going to take Mike Vrabel. But Dan Quinn is going to be the head coach there, and I think he got it because others turned that job down, which is fine. You want to be a head coach, and if I'm the 7th choice, I still got the head coaching job. It was less than inspiring. And what is the new trend? So you have Pete Carroll, Mike Vrabel, Bill Belichick not coaching this year. And it feels like you're looking for the guy who's around 28 years, 29, 30 years of age, physically fit, and is reading a playbook out of Tony Robbins' motivational speeches, where they go in there and they tell you that this is the way it's going to be, and who's with me? And they look great, and they're in shape, but can you coach? And Mike McDonald did a great job with Baltimore. Okay. It just felt like all of that, and that's what Washington got. New ownership there. You got the 2nd pick in the draft. Why do I want a defensive coordinator as my head coach when I'm going to draft a quarterback with the number 2 pick in the draft? I don't understand that. That's where I need somebody who's going to be able to develop him. And Dan Quinn is a defensive-minded guy. But Paulie sent me the actual Diana Rossini tweet. During the hiring process, Bill Belichick was considered for the job, per sources. Commanders spoke with him, and he had support from some decision makers. In the end, Dan Quinn is their choice. Okay. Now, you can speak to Bill, but you didn't interview him, which is interesting. But also, there's a real good chance Bill Belichick does not coach again in the NFL. He's going to be 1 year older. He'll be 73 with next year's hiring process?
Correct. He would be 73 when the following NFL season started.
Yeah. So, and what team is going to relinquish control? And he's not your forever coach. How long is he going to coach? Now, I thought Philadelphia, if they were going to make a change, that Bill would have been the guy. You got a respected front office guy, Howie Roseman, and Bill going in there and maybe revitalizing that team that went to the Super Bowl the previous year, needs maybe a change in culture. Maybe Mike McCarthy with the Cowboys, although I don't see that happening. Even though Jerry can love Bill Belichick and respect him and say all those nice things, you still got to make it work on a daily basis. And I had my doubts about that happening. Now, as far as Philadelphia, I could see that. But other than that, what team is going to say, now we bring in Bill Belichick? And I'm really curious about that. Because I don't know if you can go, yeah, that'll make sense. But we don't know. There'll be coaching vacancies that right now we're not able to handicap. But there'll be a job opening, and then now does Bill Belichick say, I don't need control. Let me just coach. Is he going to have to sacrifice a little bit here? And that might be the case, but still, you want to hire somebody who is young. You want to get them before somebody else gets them. Nobody wanted Bill Belichick, at least what came with Bill Belichick. So the greatest coach of all time, nobody wanted him. Now, Arthur Blank, I think, wanted him in Atlanta, but the front office didn't because they were going to lose their jobs. Or we have to turn over the authority to Bill Belichick, and they didn't want to do that, obviously. So he's maybe going into TV. Mike Vrabel, I was really surprised. Vrabel was the guy where it was like, oh, he's going to get a job tomorrow if he wants one. There'll be a line out the door waiting for him. And then all of a sudden there wasn't. Pete Carroll, once again, age, that'll be a factor. Pete and Bill around the same age. Is Pete your forever coach? And the answer is no. You're looking for a Mike Tomlin. You're looking for somebody, I got 15 years, 17 years, 20 years. Like, that is your goal. The question is, can you find that guy? And sometimes we'll look at a hire and go, Mike McDaniel? That guy? He's kind of funny and quirky. He was on the Niners staff. All right. Like, you just kind of go, all right. And then all of a sudden you go, all right, I get it. Yeah, all right, there's a genius in there, offensive-minded guy. It works. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it's really like, all right, I like what we're doing here, too. Really? And that's how I felt with Dan Quinn. I don't know Dan. Sure, he's a wonderful guy. But I go, okay, all right. Yeah, more.
Do you think it's hard for players to look at a guy that looks like he's never played football? Even though a lot of these coaches, they're short, they're kind of scrawny, but they probably played some type of football. Do you think it's hard for them to receive somebody like he's 5'8", 150?
Ding. Right. I don't know what sport it matters most that you played the game and having that respect. It feels like in basketball, it feels like David Blatt. You know, there were certain coaches where it just didn't feel like they had respect because, well, what have you done? Lawrence Frank, you know, where you go, really? Whereas Ty Lue, he at least played. And you know, even Chuck Daly built a resume with Detroit, but, you know, Chuck Daly wasn't an NBA player. Pat Riley played. You know, there's just certain guys where you go, okay, you got a little cachet there. But I don't know which sport where you go, like baseball. Does anybody check the resume of Tony La Russa's playing career? Or Tommy Lasorda's playing career? Terry Francona's playing career? No, they didn't, or they don't. It doesn't matter. Like Tommy Lasorda was not a good pitcher, but he was a pitcher. How can he give advice to a pitcher? But it feels like in basketball, you know, we need some credibility out here. You know, Spoelstra, when LeBron was down there, I don't know if he had the full support of LeBron and company, but he earned it. Yeah, Paul.
If you look at NFL head coaches, I don't know if there's a head coach who never played football. A lot of these guys, like Dan Quinn was a linebacker at Salisbury State. Mike McDaniel was a 4-string wide receiver at Yale. You know, they don't look like they played necessarily. But, you know, guys like Joe Gibbs played small-town football. I think Nick Saban was Kent State defensive back. They all played at some level. I can't imagine an NFL coach not having reps.
But I don't know, does it matter in the NBA that, you know, Doc Rivers played, Mike Budenholzer didn't, Greg Popovich didn't play? I don't know how much that matters to these players. It feels like in the NBA it matters more than it would in some of the other sports. All right. Woo!
Ow! Stat of the day! Stat of the day! Stat of the day! Stat of the day! This is the stat of the day!
Chiefs fan Melissa Etheridge, stat of the day, brought to you by Panini America, the official trading cards of the Dan Patrick Show. All right, Seton.
It is crazy to me that we're having the Super Bowl in Las Vegas. It's unbelievable.
Paulie went back to 2015. There's an article where the commissioner is anti-gambling. It's a non-starter. You know, even people worked at the NFL Network. You weren't even allowed to hint at the betting lines. I remember talking to Rich Eisen about that, and he goes, no, we're not allowed to talk about that. Now, and I don't know if they still are allowed to. They should be. But, I mean, the fact that we have a couple of sports franchises in Vegas and hosting the Super Bowl. If I would have said that in 2015, so what is that, 9 years? Boy, that's a quick turnaround. Now everybody's okay with gambling. Hey, you know what? We love gambling so much. Let's put the event in the capital of gambling, Las Vegas.
Well, it was legalized in 2018, right? I think that's when, was it the Supreme Court overturned there was like gosh, I'm forgetting the name of it now, but it was illegal, and I think the Supreme Court overturned it. So 2018 to now, you have the Raiders are there. That's the first year the Golden Knights existed. That's in just 6 years.
And then you got the Oakland A's who are moving there.
The Oakland A's are now moving there.
Yeah, you have the Raiders who are there, and then they're going to get an NBA expansion franchise there as well.
That's an unbelievable change in 6 years.